Hi guys, good evening. Thanks for being here today. So by way of introduction, I'm Sonia, and I've been a media personality, TV and radio presenter for almost 10 years now. Thank you so much for giving me your time here today and for allowing me to be a part of TEDx. This is such an honor, and I really feel like building up to this day, I was just thinking, how should I present this? So I decided on a particular title here today after giving the theme and having a think about it, persistence against all odds. Now that's a really good one. So the title of the speech that I picked today is Small but Powerful. And the reason why I picked that is because in life, all these small but daily things that you do compound. And that's what makes it powerful, because that then paves the way to success for you. And I hope to share that in my journey with you here today. Everyone sees this sparkly, glamorous side of my work, but what they don't see is the hustle. They don't see the anxiety, the tears, and so much hard work being put into it, and all the sacrifice that I've made. The number one thing that I sacrificed, can you guess what it is? Sleep. So many sacrifices that I've made to be where I am right now. And of course, I wouldn't have been able to do that without the support of a lot of my loved ones. And once again, I'll get to that a little later on. But I just want to kick things off by saying I'm going to split this into 4 parts here today, okay? My journey is going to be in 4 parts. And we're going to kick it off with this. The tough climb, battling uncertainty and self-doubt. I know it may seem a little strange because, I'm standing here, seemingly confident, but I struggled with a lot of confidence issues when I was young. Let's take a look at this photo of me right here, okay? So this is me in primary school, but basically I was lost half the time. I was so quiet and mousy. And I never really believed in myself, I'm the kind of person that shrank back to the back of the class, and I didn't want to be noticed. It was tough because being a quiet girl and a quiet person, I didn't have an opportunity to bring my personality out, I always thought, what should I do in the future? I wasn't quite sure. I knew that maybe I wanted to do something related to writing. Writing, perhaps, journalism, maybe. And, prior to that, I wanted to be a lawyer. But I didn't study hard enough, guys, so I didn't end up being a lawyer. And prior to that, I think I owe this to my mom. She actually put me in a kabaya costume a long time ago when I was a kid, and I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'll be a stewardess. But guess what? I don't think I ever met the height limit, so I don't think that ever worked out. I never became a stewardess. But I knew, at the end of the day, media is probably what I wanted to do. What part of media? I don't know, but I'll figure it out along the way, right? And I was doing that as I joined, Mass Comm, NP, what's up? I'm also an NP alumni. That opened me up. That definitely opened me up, and I was very surprised. So then came along this opportunity to join a personality contest, and this was for 987 back then. And I thought to myself, a personality contest? My friends were egging me on. They were like, you should do it just for fun. You got some experience in mass comm here and there, and I did a little bit of radio heatwave, but honestly, I did it because I needed a CCA at the time, and I was like, okay, I'll try it out. I ended up enjoying it, but did I see it as a long-term career? Not really. Not yet, at least. So this personality hunt came along, and I thought to myself, okay, this is a recipe for disaster and failure, 100%. I don't think I'm going to survive in this public humiliation, by the way, if I get kicked off and all that. And I'm a Capricorn, you guys. So in that moment, I thought to myself, fine, maybe I'll give it a shot. And little did I know that this particular competition was going to be quite a turning point for me, because it showed me a different side to myself. I was ultra competitive. And I didn't realize that until I joined this competition. So what happened was, I wanted to dominate every round. I couldn't lose, I wanted to win so badly. But here's a plot twist. At one point, I got kicked out of the competition, okay? And you must be wondering, how did I get kicked out? And I'm still here, right? Okay, I got kicked out of the competition, and it was in that moment that I was so shaken, and I really felt like I failed myself. I was distraught. I was like, I disappointed myself. I've disappointed my friends, my family. I don't think they even thought that way. They were just there to be my cheerleaders, but I felt like I was a failure. at that point. And that takes me to my next slide. I wasn't a perfectionist. I was afraid to fail. I was giving this super manicured, perfect version of myself in the contest because I thought that was what the judges were looking for. I thought that was what people were seeking for, my audience, the people voting for me. But little did I know that that's not it. They want to see you in your most true, raw form with whatever flaws it is. That makes you more real and that makes you more human. And so I thought to myself, wow, I really got to try and get back into the wildcard round. There was a wildcard round, so if you do well enough, they can take you back. So I thought to myself, wow, I really got to buck up. I tried my best, I prepared for it and everything, and I gave my most genuine, true self to my best ability, because sometimes when people say, oh, just be yourself, I'm like, I don't know how to be myself. You tell me that, who am I? I'm still trying to figure it out. So I did my best, to toss out whatever personality I thought I had. And lo and behold, eventually I won that competition. And this was already years ago. To which this was a really huge learning lesson for me. And I felt like it was such a turbulent start because I went up and down, I got kicked out, I came back. Like this was a roller coaster ride. It's worse than Battlestar Galactica USS, okay? It was a whole emotional journey. I was really like, guys, I can't do this. I don't know if I'm made for the public space. But here we are today. And through that entire journey, I also felt I took so many lessons away from it. And with the love and support of back then my classmates, my lecturers, my loved ones, I managed to keep a good head on my shoulders. And I also learned how to stay genuine and real and grounded throughout the rest of my journey. And that would be so important moving on. Which takes me to my next point. This is my second part, the hustle. Becoming a homeowner and business partner at 27. I get a lot of questions about this, by the way. People always ask, how did that happen? Like, please share your success story. I'm going to start with this. A rocket uses about 50% of its fuel at takeoff. And once it reaches a good momentum, it will start to orbit. And once it orbits, it doesn't need to use much energy or fuel anymore because it's just cruising. I did not just turn this into an episode of National Science Challenge, which I've hosted maybe about 8 times. But the reason why I'm sharing that is because it's totally applicable to your life as well. And this is called the big mo, the big momentum, as I like to call it. In the beginning stages of your career, and I know a lot of you will be in the beginning stages of your career very soon, right? You're going to start very soon. This is so important because you need to have that thrust. Just like that rocket burning 50% of that fuel, you need to burn as much energy and fuel as possible to get to your destination because you don't want to be working this hard at the age of 40 or something. I don't know, maybe I want to retire at 40, I have no idea, I have no clue. But you really need to have that upward thrust. You need to put in all your effort, your energy, you need to hustle. And while you can still sacrifice sleep, you should. Because later on, it gets harder and harder. I'm speaking from experience here. So this is why I bring in the metaphor of the big mo. I think that is so important to take note of, This was exactly me in my early to mid-20s. I was taking on every single job. Ask anyone that I know, my friends, my family. I took on every single job, big or small. I did every production. I was, by the way, waking up at 4:30 a.m. because I was assigned to the breakfast show on 987 at that point. And guess what? I'm back on the breakfast show right now. So I'm back to waking up at 4:30 a.m. Like, that's just the unfortunate truth. But after which, I would go for production shoots, I would take on so many different things. And all of a sudden, I needed to be a model. Like, oh, go for this magazine shoot. I was not built for this, you guys. I was nervous in front of the camera. I didn't know how to pose. And then all of a sudden, I would need to segue to being a voiceover artist for a brand. So it's like, guys, there's so much happening. I was really at the peak of my anxiety. Because while this was going really well, I was at the peak of my anxiety. I wasn't sure how to cope. And I have to say also at this point, before going up on stage sometimes for some of my shows, I would have nervous meltdowns in the car. But this is all part of your journey, You see the best and the worst sides of yourself. And I was really cold calling, I was so aggressive, I was attending all these events, crashing parties, trying to be invited to anything at all that I could network in. And this was not easy. Because I felt at one point, am I an introvert or an extrovert? I had no clue. Like, I am an extrovert as a result of my job, but deep inside, sometimes I think I'm quite introverted. So in these moments, I was like, wow, this is not easy at all. So much. It was a tough climb. And at some point, I started to make an impact, I think. People started talking about me, both in a good and bad way. And of course, our ears prick up when we hear the bad stuff, right? When we hear the gossip and the bad things about us. I didn't quite understand. I was like, why are they talking about me this way? At the point, I had a mentor. Her name is Georgina Chang. I don't know if some of you might be familiar with her. Maybe some of the lecturers might be familiar. She's like OG MediaCorp back then. And she was one of my senior bosses at the time that became my mentor as well. And I brought this problem to her. I said, hey, I don't know how to deal with this, but I'm hearing all these whisperings, and I'm not quite sure if this is the job that I want to do anymore. And she kind of laughed it off, she chuckled, and she said, you know what? This is an indication that you're doing something right. It's all these small but powerful things that you're doing, networking, cold calling, trying to befriend everyone, trying to get your name out there. Because I was at one point just going up to random people going, I'm Sonia, you don't know me. I just started in 987, and I'm a nobody right now, but hopefully someday you'll give me a chance to work with you. And she said, the climb to the top is going to be a very lonely one. Are you ready for that? I felt, wow, I don't know, because I was already at my peak of anxiety, like I mentioned earlier on. And none of this would have been possible, of course, without something that was really constant. And that's the love and support of my parents. What happened was, along the way, they had no idea whether their crazy, intense daughter was going to make it, okay? And not forgetting, this was at a point where the media industry sometimes is a little frowned upon. They're like, oh, there's no money to be earned in media. Why you waste your time studying media? I think Shaza mentioned it earlier on, music, media, And yes, those were the stereotypes. But here I was, relentless, right? I was relentless. So I guess my parents had no choice, right? I mean, they got no choice. I'm their daughter. They got to support me. And it was in the small but powerful things that they did. For example, I think parents in the audience might be able to relate. Being my driver for a whole day, just getting me from point A to point B, bringing me food when I haven't eaten in 12 hours, there they were. And actually, they're here in the audience today. Can you please give them a round of applause? They're in the front. Sorry, I can't see them. They're right in the front. Without their love and support, I would have never been able to do this, okay? This is parenting 101 right here. I guess they just really had no choice. This is their lottery, right? Their lottery, and they landed with me. So these were the things that I really treasured, the support system. This is one of the things that's so important in my line of work and me being here today. Now, amidst all this chaos, a grand opportunity came up. And that was actually an unscripted travel show. I was like, wow, an unscripted travel show. Like, what do I talk about? Like, do I need to do research about these things? They were like, no, don't do research. Best if you don't even read about the place. You know what? We're not even going to tell you where you're going until maybe like one day before or something. Like, maybe pack a jacket. I don't know what it is. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to do it. And this was yet again another turning point for me. Travel SSBD, or Travel Same But Different, is a project that till this day remains so precious to me because that really brought out a different side of me altogether. It gave me different dimension as an artist, as a presenter. I loved what I do on radio, but this is a chance to get out there and try something new, right? And before you know it, this is not a flex, but I'm going to flex anyway. We started winning awards, and the first one being Best Original Digital Content at the New York Film Festivals. But there's one learning lesson in this as well. And I always go back to the small but powerful efforts and things and habits that we do, right? When it comes to a award-winning show, or a winning team, whether football, basketball, whatever you follow, everybody wants to support the winning team, right? It's nice to support the winners. But nobody really sees the ground-up effort. Starting from the bottom, now we hear, not to quote Drake, but started from the bottom and you climb your way up, right? And that is the challenge. That truly is the challenge. And what I realized was I wasn't joining this show or starting this show because I wanted to win awards. I started it because I genuinely love what I do. And having that bond with the crew and everyone, the producers, and seeing the rise of a program that we built from scratch, that was so rewarding to me. And that's why I feel that was a huge turning point. And then comes something else interesting during this period. I was in my maybe mid-20s at this point, and I had amassed quite a nice amount of savings, and I was wondering, what should I do with this money? What should I do? I was supporting my family at this point. So I thought to myself, maybe the safest thing to do is to maybe invest in a property at the point. And it was not the easiest thing because with my budget, I could only look at a certain type of house, and I was below 35. I'm still below 35, by the way. No, but truly, it was not a vast amount of options. And they're all really small. I mean, we're in Singapore, right? It's almost like a shoebox situation. So I thought to myself, wow, I don't have a lot of choices, but let me start small. And that's where we start again, in the small things. You begin small and you build your way up. And I think that is what's rewarding about it. You don't need to worry about aiming for that 4-room apartment in Orchard Road or something right now with a huge balcony, jacuzzi. That's not going to happen, at least not for me. It wasn't going to happen at the time. But maybe if I started small, I'll be able to build up along the way and eventually get to a bigger goal in the future. Now, 27 was a very interesting age for me because I also decided to become a business owner. And together with a few partners, we opened a restaurant called Easy Fook. Oh, this was us at the opening ceremony. We were like cutting the ribbons and the lion dance and all that. This was actually over at Club Street. And I had no experience in business at all. Guess what was my experience? Eating and drinking. I knew I loved that. So I was like, okay, let's start this. And of course, as you can see in the photo, I was surrounded by a lot more experienced business partners, owners, people who have been in F&B. And that to me was a bit of mentorship as well. Because what I took away from it was a lot of different lessons, learned management lessons as well, how you have to manage staff. Oh, gosh, I really think being an entrepreneur is not the easiest thing, and if you can do it, I really salute you. Because when I went into this, I saw the rough side of things, And I was like, wow, while this is giving me a different facet and different dimension, I'm not so sure if I am the best boss or business owner. So I brought in the skills that I thought would be useful: entertaining, eating, and drinking. So those were the things that I brought in. But it was good because I could bring up my media clients and people that I wanted to host and get to know to come to my restaurants and enjoy a meal while we also promote the place. So those were my strengths. Unfortunately, the pandemic did a number on us and we did not survive. We did not survive. We called that chapter to a close. And if you ask me right now, would I do F&B again? Probably not. I don't think it's my strong suit. Probably not. Now, this all seems very fine and dandy, and I was having like the time of my life, right? Like, as you see earlier with social media and all that. And then came this moment. The mistake that almost ended my entire career. Now, I don't talk about this very often because it's PTSD, honestly. It brings up a lot of negative emotions, and I took a long time to get over it. But we have to be vulnerable here, and it's so in line with the themes that we're talking about here today that I have to bring it up. So during the pandemic, they were starting to reintroduce social groups in small numbers, right? And that was like maybe 5 packs. They started with 5, and then it went to 8 and 10 and so on. So during the time that it was 5, I was actually invited to a house gathering. And little did I realize that this house gathering had more like 15 people than 5. And I was hesitating, I was a bit like, I'm not sure if I should go. But peer pressure, I was like, okay, you know what, I'll just go. I went, no complaints, nothing, the neighbors didn't complain, there was no drama whatsoever. But someone accidentally posted a story of it, then took it down shortly after. But that was already too late, right? As you know, with social media, anything you put up there is immortalized. Good luck taking it down. So in those moments, in the few months right after that, I didn't think too much about it because there was nothing. Nobody made a fuss. He seemed to have taken down the post in time. Nothing happened. And then I'm going to show you this particular video, and you're going to wonder why I'm showing this to you. I am going to cringe watching this, but just bear with me and watch it, and I'll tell you why I'm showing it to you in just a while, okay? All right, here we go. Oh gosh.
Time to shop for brand new things. Chinese New Year at Lazada. Enjoy free shipping at Lazada. Chinese New Year at Lazada. Finest assortment of everything. Chinese New Year at Lazada. Instacart and Lazada.
Shop now.
Shop now. Okay. Here we go, guys. There is a reason why I'm showing you an outdated Chinese New Year video, okay? I know you got a lot of question marks in your head right now. Now, this shoot, in order to achieve this ad, that was what, like 30 seconds or not even 30 seconds? It took about 18 hours to shoot this. They built the entire set from scratch. There were a ton of crew members, clients, even management from my side coming down, makeup artists, hair, so many people, wardrobe. It was a whole truckload of people that were included. And I had to finish this ad and the photo shoots and everything for the billboards in 16 to 18 hours. And before the 50% mark of this shoot, just halfway through, the articles about us being investigated for an illegal gathering dropped everywhere. Everywhere. All your news channels, social media pages, Hardware Zone, don't even get me started on Hardware Zone. Don't even get me started on Hardware Zone, okay? And Telegram groups. Every single platform had my face plastered over it with the headlines. Well, I don't want to recall the headlines, but it was bad. Basically, it was really bad. And all this was happening, the clients and all, they were reading these articles while I was prancing around with the vacuum cleaner, guys. Literally, that was what's happening. And I was like, what's going on? Everyone's like on their phones. To my horror, when you have those nightmares and bad dreams, that really was it. To my horror, it was about me. I had no prior awareness that they were going to drop this at all. I didn't even know that anyone knew. But I guess someone kept, the screen grabs for a rainy day. I don't know. But it came out. And there was no stopping it. They were identifying each and every one of us. We were being investigated. I had to go down for interviews. I had phone call after phone call. I couldn't process this. I had to compartmentalize, especially during such an important shoot like that. The client's paying big bucks for you, and you want to show up to be your best possible self. But I was melting internally. I couldn't even, that feeling when you know that you messed up and there's that heat coming up from the back of your neck and it's just like engulfing your entire body. That was exactly how I felt. And before I knew it, I was having a meltdown in the makeup room. I was hysterical. I was crying, bawling. Poor makeup artist spent like an hour doing my face. It was all gone. And they didn't know what to do. They were like, what should we do? Like, we're not even halfway into the shoot yet. I tried to gather myself. I tried to really just, try and calm down, but I got a phone call. And the phone call was from my boss at the time, my big boss. She was sympathetic, but at the same time, she said, I'm so sorry to tell you, but you're going to be dropped from every show moving forward. Every show that you've been casted in, that you're hosting, whatever, in the short term, you're going to be dropped from it. And you have to stay off radio for a couple of weeks because the backlash is too bad at this point. And it's a very sensitive topic. While I understood, I struggled at that point, and I was just hysterical, I was hysterical. And this was just moments before we had to film that opening shot that you saw when I woke up with the shades, that one. So I was lost in that moment, but I gathered myself and tried to survive that shoot. The weeks following that, I holed myself up in misery. It was like the worst time of my life, and I was being crucified on social media. It was terrible for my mental health. I started receiving death threats, like, believe it or not. They're like, I hope you die from COVID. People said those things. And I was confused. I was like, I don't know how to deal with it. I think I need to cut social media off for a while. I need to stop looking at all these because these are just really angry people projecting, their unhappiness on me. But of course, I had to acknowledge that I did wrong as well. I messed up. I had to acknowledge that, I did a public apology, and then I had to try and keep a low profile for a little bit. But I leaned into my social circle, a very tight social circle that I had at the point. I leaned into that support system. That brings me back to how important a support system is when you are in the pursuit of success and achieving something. And I thought to myself, there has to be a silver lining. And here it was. My clients that I've been working with for a long time, big clients that I've been representing and working with, they did not drop me. I was surprised. I thought I was going to lose all my ambassadorship deals. I thought this campaign was a goner, that's for sure, because the news dropped, in December and the campaign was going out in January. I thought they were definitely going to drop me. But the silver lining was that they didn't. I was so touched when this happened. This campaign went out, by the way. I got plastered all over the train stations, bus, YouTube, television. It went out. And I was just bracing for the negative comments at the point. But this really taught me a lesson as well. All the years that I spent building relationships with my clients, being as honest and kind that I could be, being my genuine self, all the small but powerful things that I did, gestures that I did to maintain relationships with these clients, that paid off. Keep your head down in success, stay humble, but keep it up in distress. That was my main learning point from this. So moving forward, I had to find a way to recover, I had to find a way to rebrand and find my footing again in the media industry. So moving forward, I wanted to focus my attention on myself, to give the best possible version of myself out there, to focus on the projects that inspired me. And this was at the birth of a particular podcast, most recently called Men Explain. So before I wrap things up, just to really touch on some of these points, when you learn a new sport, for example, okay, I'm not the sportiest person, but I did dabble in a bit of snowboarding. And when you learn some of these sports, you are told to look where you want to go, right? I know this from experience because I looked at a tree and that's where I went. Honestly, it really is true. You keep looking where you don't want to go, you're going to go there. And I learned this and applied this in my life as well. Where you look is where your energy goes. And that's eventually how you're going to build yourself, If you keep looking at that person that irritates you, or the toxic colleague, or classmate that you don't like, or someone that you're envious of, that's where your energy is going to go. You're not using your energy to build yourself. You're not building good work. You are, in fact, directing your energy to something negative. So why do you want to do that? Direct your energy at yourself instead. Look at where you want to go, and that's where your energy will be. And to wrap it up, always remember, it's in the small and powerful things that you do every single day consistently that will compound to pave your way for success. Thank you so much for being with me here today. Have a wonderful 2024. I'll see you guys later.